On this day in history, November 23rd, Thespis of Icaria makes theatrical history by becoming the first known actor to step out of the Greek chorus and speak individual lines on November 23, 534 BC. His revolutionary act of portraying a character on stage marks the birth of Western theater as we know it. This innovation leads to him being recognized as the first actor in recorded history, with the term thespian later being derived from his name. The Second War of Kappel concludes with a decisive victory for Switzerland's Catholic cantons over the Protestant forces on November 23, 1531. This defeat results in the death of Protestant leader Huldrych Zwingli and marks a significant setback for the Swiss Reformation. The subsequent Peace of Kappel forces the dissolution of the Protestant alliance and establishes religious coexistence in Switzerland. John Milton publishes his famous prose polemic Areopagitica on November 23, 1644, arguing against parliamentary censorship and for the freedom of the press. The work, written as a speech to the Parliament of England, becomes one of history's most influential and impassioned philosophical defenses of free speech and expression. Milton's arguments in Areopagitica continue to influence modern debates about censorship and freedom of expression. French forces commanded by Marshal Lannes alongside Polish allies achieve a decisive victory over Spanish forces at the Battle of Tudela on November 23, 1808. The battle demonstrates the superior tactical abilities of the French army during the Peninsular War. The defeat forces the Spanish to retreat, leaving northern Spain vulnerable to French advance. The Battle of Chattanooga begins on November 23, 1863, as Union forces under General Ulysses S. Grant launch a major offensive to break the Confederate siege. Grant's reinforcement of the Union Army brings much-needed supplies and manpower to the besieged troops in Chattanooga. The battle would prove to be a crucial turning point in the American Civil War, securing Union control of Tennessee. Notorious Tammany Hall boss William Boss Tweed is captured in Spain on November 23, 1876, after fleeing justice in New York. Spanish authorities identify him through political cartoons published by Thomas Nast in Harper's Weekly. Tweed's return to New York marks the end of one of the most corrupt political machines in American history. President Warren G. Harding signs the Willis-Campbell Act on November 23, 1921, extending prohibition restrictions to medicinal alcohol. The act specifically prohibits doctors from prescribing beer or liquor for medicinal purposes, closing a major loophole in the Volstead Act. This legislation represents another attempt to strengthen the enforcement of prohibition in the United States. American forces secure victory in the Battle of Tarawa and Makin Atolls on November 23, 1943, marking a significant advancement in the Pacific theater of World War II. The battle for Tarawa proves particularly costly, with over 1,000 U.S. Marines killed and more than 2,000 wounded in just 76 hours of combat. This battle provides valuable lessons in amphibious warfare that would be applied in future Pacific operations. The Lotta Svärd Women's Auxiliary Organization in Finland is disbanded on November 23, 1944, under pressure from the Soviet Union following the Continuation War. The organization, which had provided crucial support services during the war, had over 240,000 members at its peak. Its dissolution marks the end of one of the largest voluntary defense organizations for women in the world. French naval forces conduct a devastating bombardment of the Vietnamese port city of Hai Phong on November 23, 1946, resulting in thousands of civilian casualties. The attack comes as part of escalating tensions between French colonial forces and Vietnamese independence movements. This event becomes a significant catalyst for the First Indochina War. The BBC broadcasts the first episode of Doctor Who, titled An Unearthly Child, on November 23, 1963, launching what would become the world's longest-running science fiction television series. The show stars William Hartnell as the mysterious Time Lord known as the Doctor. The episode airs just one day after the assassination of President Kennedy, adding to its historical significance. French freediver Jacques Mayol makes history by becoming the first person to reach a depth of 100 meters without breathing apparatus. His remarkable achievement on November 23, 1976, helps establish new understanding of human physiological capabilities under extreme conditions. Mayol's feat inspires the 1988 film The Big Blue and revolutionizes the sport of freediving. President Ronald Reagan signs National Security Decision Directive 17 on November 23, 1981, authorizing the CIA to support the Contra rebels in Nicaragua. The directive marks a significant escalation in U.S. involvement in Central American conflicts. This decision would later become central to the Iran-Contra scandal. Freddie Mercury, the legendary lead singer of Queen, releases a public statement on November 23, 1991, confirming his HIV-positive status after years of speculation about his health. His announcement comes just one day before his death, ending years of privacy about his condition. Mercury's death brings unprecedented attention to the AIDS crisis and leads to increased awareness and advocacy. IBM introduces the Simon personal communicator at Comdex in Las Vegas on November 23, 1992, launching the world's first smartphone. The device combines the functions of a cellular phone with a PDA, including features like a touchscreen and the ability to send emails. The Simon sets the stage for the modern smartphone revolution, though it wouldn't be released to the public until 1994. The Maguindanao Massacre becomes the single deadliest event for journalists in history when 58 people are brutally killed in the Philippines on November 23, 2009. The victims, including 32 journalists, were ambushed while en route to file a certificate of candidacy for a local politician. The massacre highlights the dangerous intersection of politics, violence, and press freedom in the Philippines. Yemeni President Ali Abdullah Saleh signs a power transfer deal in Saudi Arabia on November 23, 2011, after months of protests and civil unrest. The agreement grants Saleh immunity from prosecution in exchange for stepping down from power after 33 years of rule. This marks a significant moment in the Arab Spring movements that swept across the Middle East and North Africa. Blue Origin achieves a historic milestone in spaceflight when its new Shepard vehicle successfully completes a vertical landing after reaching space on November 23, 2015. The achievement marks the first time a rocket has returned from space to make a controlled vertical landing on Earth. This breakthrough development significantly advances the goal of reusable rocket technology. Fashion designers Domenico Dolce and Stefano Gabbana issue a public apology on November 23, 2018, following widespread backlash over culturally insensitive advertisements in China. The controversial campaign leads to the cancellation of their Shanghai fashion show and significant damage to their brand in the Chinese market. The incident highlights the importance of cultural sensitivity in global marketing. Malaysia's last Sumatran rhinoceros, Iman, dies of cancer at a wildlife reserve in Sabah on November 23, 2019, marking the species' extinction in the country. Iman had been the last surviving female Sumatran rhino in Malaysia since the death of another female in 2014. The loss emphasizes the critical state of the species, with only a small population remaining in Indonesia.